Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Troutdale Planning Commission for Wednesday, April 29th, 2026. If we could have roll call, please.
Commissioner Glantz.
Present.
Commissioner Minkoff, he is excused. Commissioner Kester.
Here.
Commissioner Prickett.
Here.
Commissioner Wilcox.
Here.
Chair Stephenson.
Here.
And Commissioner Allen.
Not heard from him. Okay, this time I would like to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Prickett will be leading us this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Is there anyone wishing to speak to the Planning Commission this evening on a non-agenda item? Seeing none? Okay, next order of business, did everyone receive a copy of the minutes from March 11th and April 8th? Do we have any corrections? And I'll start with Commissioner Wilcox.
I sent 20 lines of corrections to the code up, but they're mostly spelling and punctuation type things.
Okay.
There were a couple on page 4.
I'm guessing that's 4 of the April meeting,
4, using the number 4 that's in the bottom.
right?
Let's see. Page. It's not matching up. Somewhere I saw where it says planning commissioners act as the deciders it's on murals.
It would be paragraph A towards the top, bottom of that paragraph. And then the city, Planning Commission decides what the art item would be. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the place. Just questioning whether that was it meant to be the planning commission.
I thought it was TCAP.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, it's in the code, it does say DCAP in the planning commission.
Yeah. Strike out Planning Commission and put Town Center Advisory Board. Isn't that?
And then, let's see.
What page was that on?
That was on
Page 4.
445,
Okay, thank you.
paragraph at the top of the page, second line from the bottom of that paragraph.
The other one's actually on the next month. That's all I have other than spelling corrections and such.
Okay.
So we do them separately.
That's fine, we can do it separately.
I move that we approve the minutes of March 11th, 2026 as amended.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve the meeting minutes from March 11th as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries. Now we're moving along to April 8th.
Page 13, about the middle of the page. The quote that says, "Council can't go with additional height, maybe 40 feet to allow additional ceiling height on the first level. Closely, it should be, Mr. Wilcox quote should be, can't go with 4 stories or 50 feet, maybe 40 feet to allow for additional first floor height.
Okay.
And most of the rest are spelling and such.
All right. Any other corrections for April 8th? All right. Motion to approve.
Chair Stevenson,
Mr. Prickett.
I move to approve the minutes of April 8th, 2026 as amended.
Second.
Oh, he beat you. Okay. Second by Commissioner Kester. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes for April 8, 2026 as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, great. All right. Tonight we have 2 public hearings, case file LU-0003-2026, which is a variance for a monument sign, and case file LU-0004-2026, which is a conditional use permit for Dakota Coffee. And before we open the public hearing for tonight's agenda items, I'd like to explain a little bit about the Planning Commission and the procedure that we'll be following this evening for the public hearings. The Planning Commission is an appointed 7-member volunteer body of Troutdale citizens. Members of the Planning Commission are Troutdale residents who've been appointed by the City Council. They serve 4-year terms, they are strictly volunteers and receive no pay for their services. The Planning Commission serves as a citizen committee for the review of land use applications and various land use related matters within the city. Items which the Planning Commission consider include uses of land, subdivisions, major variances, land use policy plans, and development regulations. For some land use applications, the Planning Commission makes a final decision. For other applications, they are simply making a recommendation to the City Council, who renders the final decision. Both of these cases this evening are type 3 quasi-judicial hearings, and the Planning Commission will be the deciding body for those actions. Quasi-judicial hearings are held in accordance with Oregon law and procedures contained in the Troutdale Development Code. The hearing this evening proceeds as follows. City staff presents their report, which includes applicable criteria and standards for the matter under consideration in the land use application. All testimony and evidence should be directed towards these criteria. If you believe that other criteria in the comprehensive plan, development code, or other city land use regulations apply, you must identify these regulations and criteria and explain why they apply to the decision. The Planning Commission accepts public testimony relating to the application. The applicant is allowed to speak first, followed by proponents, then by opponents, and then by any parties neutral to the application. An opportunity will be provided to anyone testifying to clarify any issues raised. All issues raised by a participant during the public hearing must be sufficiently clear and specific to allow the Planning Commission and other parties an opportunity to respond to those issues. Failure to raise an issue during this public hearing may invalidate a future appeal based on that issue. Prior to closing the public hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony regarding the application. The Planning Commission must grant the request either by continuing the public hearing to a future date or by leaving the record open for at least 7 days to admit only that specific written evidence or testimony. If the record is left open for the additional written evidence or testimony, any participant may file a written request for an opportunity to respond to new evidence submitted during the period that the record was left open. If such a request is filed, the Planning Commission shall reopen the record to allow any person to raise new issues which relate to the new evidence, testimony, or criteria for decision making. And finally, if you're testifying this evening, please fill out one of these cards. And please make sure that you state your name and address clearly when you come up to the table for appeal purposes. And before we open tonight's public hearing, on either one of these, does anyone have any ex parte contact, bias, or conflict of interest that they wish to declare at this time?
Other than being an immediate neighbor to the Home Forward site, that would be the only possible, but that shouldn't be an issue.
Do you feel that that would
No, but
be a challenge?
stating for the record.
Challenge? No? Okay. Anyone else? Have anything? No ex parte contact, conflict of interest. All right. Well, with that, we will open the case file for LU-0003-2026, which is an installation of a monument sign, and this is a variance application. Mr. Meyer.
All righty. All righty. My name is Dakota Meyer. I'm the associate planner here with the city of Troutdale, and I'll be presenting the case file and presentation for case file number LU-0003-2026, the Home Forward Monument Sign. A little bit of site background. The applicant was Taran Wheeler, is that correct? From WMA Architects. The site's located on the Home Forward site, located at 227 Southwest Kendall Court. The property is zoned downtown mixed use, or MU1, with the surrounding properties zoning from northeast and south all MU1 zone, and then to the west there's a little bit, it's MU1 then with a little bit of MU2 as well. Here's just a little bit of site history. The site has an approved site development review for 85 units of a multifamily housing in three-story buildings with associated parking and site amenities. It was approved under case file LU-0001-2023. Construction of the site was completed in early 2026, and the final building occupancy has been approved. Here's just the street view of the site. It's not as current. Got to go with what Google Maps has for us. This is a zoomed in portion of the site plan showing where the monument sign, the proposed monument sign, is located on site. And here are some sign elevations for the monument sign itself, York Terrace. The application and applicable criteria. What is being requested is a special variance to allow for a monument sign located within the downtown mixed use, or MU1 zone. It's a type 3 special variance, was requested by the applicant to waive section 10.045 standard to allow for a monument sign. What is not being requested is a zone change or any additional site improvements or modifications. Applicable criteria for this application: comprehensive land use plan, Troutdale Development Code, Chapter 1, 2, Section 3.211 for the downtown mixed use, Section 4.16 or 4.600 for the town center overlay, Section 6.1300 for variances, Chapter 10 signs, and Chapter 17 special variances or special provisions. Along with any appropriate building and fire codes, construction standards for public work facilities, and then relevant standards in the ORS or the OAR. The review procedure. This is a type 3 quasi-judicial procedure with the public hearing, which is tonight. Planning Commission are the decision-making entity for all type 3 applications. The timeline for this application is as follows. On February 18th of 2026, the applicant submitted application materials. On March 11th, the application was deemed incomplete. They soon after submitted the missing information, and the application was deemed complete on March 17th of 2026. March 18th, the notice of public hearing was sent out. And then the public hearing is tonight, April 29th, 2026. Summary of notification and comments. Agencies that were notified included Troutdale Planning, Building, Public Works, and Gresham Fire and Emergency Services. We did not receive any public comments from the community. Gresham Fire comments can be found under attachment D of the staff report. No other comments from agencies were submitted. And now we'll get into the decision criteria. This is under section 6.1330 for a special variance. Criteria A, the unique nature of the proposed development is such that the intent and purpose of the regulations and the provisions to be waived will not be violated. These are a bit wordy, but I am going to go through them because there is quite a bit of information in there. And it is all in the staff report as well. The subject property is located within the downtown mixed-use zoning district. The subject development, York Terrace Apartments, was approved with a resolution number 2604, a development agreement with Home Forward. Per Troutdale Development Code 3.220, multifamily residential units only, is a permitted use within the MU1 zoning district. The finding within the resolution, A.115, within the development agreement states the proposed signage for the site, including wayfinding, will meet these standards at the time of development. Appendix A of the Troutdale Development Code directs all signage within the town center overlay to section 10.045. Signage requirements for development within the MU1 zone are also located in 10.045 of the Troutdale Development Code. Freestanding or monument signs are not a listed sign type within this section and are therefore not permitted. Per section 6.1310A, no variance may be granted which will permit a use not permitted in the applicable zoning district. The intent and purpose of Appendix A, or A.115, and section 10.045 is to regulate the design, quality of materials, construction, and location of signs visible from public property and public rights of way. Residents and business owners who reside in the zone are held to the same standards regardless of use. In granting a variance to the entirety of section 10.045 directly contradicts and violates the purpose of the signage standards within the downtown mixed-use zone. Furthermore, approval of the variance would undermine the intent of the overlay by introducing a sign type that is incompatible with the desired urban form and design character of the town center. As such, staff finds this criteria is not met. Section B, the authorization of the special variance will not be mutually detrimental to the public welfare and will not be injurious to other property in the area when compared with the effects of the development otherwise permitted. Staff find that the applicant has not demonstrated that the proposed freestanding or monument sign will avoid material detriment to the public welfare or injury to other property in the area when compared to development otherwise permitted within the MU1 zone. The downtown mixed-use zoning district, as further refined by the town center overlay, establishes a pedestrian-oriented environment that establishes building integrated signage, reduced visual clutter, and a cohesive streetscape design. Permitted signage types such as wall-mounted, projecting, and portable signs are intended to support the objectives by maintaining a human-scaled visual environment. In the narrative submitted by the applicant states that the proposed freestanding sign improves public welfare by supporting clear and visible site identification, safe and more efficient emergency response, and improved wayfinding. The inability to install a freestanding sign does not constitute a hardship, as reasonable and code compliant signage alternatives remain available. When compared to existing developments adhering to the standard sign regulations, the proposed freestanding sign demonstrates a deviation that could result in a disproportionate impact on neighboring properties. Staff finds that granting a variance to allow a prohibited sign type may undermine the public welfare objectives, which is not consistent with the effects of the development otherwise permitted. Staff find this criteria is not met. Criteria C. Application of the provision to be waived is unreasonable and unwarranted due to the specific nature of the proposed development. The applicant argues prohibition of freestanding signs is unreasonable and unwarranted due to the specific nature of the development. The site is built in a residential campus layout with multiple entrances to the south and to the east. Granting a variance to allow a prohibited sign type without adequate justification other than wayfinding may set a pattern that undermines established sign regulations aimed at protecting public welfare and property interests. Staff finds the applicable provisions function as intended and are appropriate as less impactful and code-compliant sign options are available that would achieve the applicant's visibility goals while maintaining consistency with district standards and design objectives. The prohibition of freestanding signs within the MU1 zone cannot be found to be unreasonable or unwarranted. Staff finds this criteria is not met. And section D, a special variance is not required for type 2 design adjustment as provided in section 8.240. The applicant is not requesting a type 2 design adjustment, so this does not apply. Staff recommendation. Based upon the review of the applicant's submittal and the review of the applicable code, staff finds the proposed type 3 special variance does not comply with the required standards and approval criteria, specifically for Troutdale Development Code 6.1330A through C, and cannot be reasonably conditioned to comply. Therefore, staff recommends denial of land use case file LU-0003-2026 and adoption of the findings for noncompliance for TDC 6.1330A through C. However, if the commission determines that the applicant has satisfied the requirements of TDC 6.1330A through C, and the commission can revise the findings for these sections and approve the application for a monument sign within the downtown zoning district. Staff has prepared a draft findings of fact and final order, which is included in the packet, outlining how the decision criteria for this application were not satisfied. Any subsequent approvals from the city shall not be issued until all conditions listed in the attachments are adequately addressed and determined by the appropriate review entity. Planning Commission reserves the right to amend the draft and proposed conditions unless other governing documents or agreements state otherwise. Staff recommends denial of the as outlined in the findings of fact. And public testimony.
Can you go back a slide for me there? There's a couple of spots where you've got 1.6, section 6, and then section 6B is 1.6. A little bit, do you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
No, that's just a typo there.
And I see that it's the same thing in the next paragraph.
Talking about the extra ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw those too.
Kosher. Okay, do we have any questions for staff before we hear from the applicant this evening?
Just one.
Yes.
In the introduction where you're going through the zoning that borders the lot or the site, unless I'm reading the map wrong, the south of the site is medium density residential across 4th Street and also on the north side of 4th Street.
Check that real quick. I have it up right here, so.
It's entirely possible I'm reading this wrong because I don't stare at these.
No, you're correct. That is medium density residential to the south.
Didn't think my house was that.
Yeah. think it's just the right of way is technically.
Yeah, no, I get it,
But the actual zoning of the residences is viewed as the residential.
Commissioner Gland?
You have a question. I didn't read the packet until today, but last night when I went into the city for the budget meeting, I remember driving in and seeing that it was called York something something. So isn't there already the sign up there? It's not proposed, it's in place.
Correct.
Okay. So it's not like they did it someplace else that I already recognized it. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Wilcox?
Mr. Lance just covered my first point that it's actually retroactive, which hasn't been expressly stated by staff. My other question is, how did we arrive at this point?
What do you mean?
Did Home Forward realize that they left a step out of their application process, or
So
was there a formal complaint submitted to Joe Storage?
no, so this was, if I'm remembering correctly, the sign was constructed and then without a sign permit. And when the sign permit came in after it was constructed, staff notified Home Forward that it is not a permittable, it's not a permitted use within the zone. That sign type, a monument sign or freestanding sign, is not permitted. And then that's what started this process.
So that was quite a while ago.
Yeah, I think we had our first meeting in February. No, January.
Other questions for staff? All right. This time I would like to invite the applicant forward, please. State your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Of course. Good evening, Chair and Commission members. My name is Ryan Winterberg-Lip. My work address is 135 Southwest Ash Street, Portland, Oregon. That is Home Forward's headquarters, and my home address is 5916 Northeast Milton Street, Portland, Oregon.
I'm Taryn Wheeler with MWA Architects. My home address is 62 Peach Lane, Underwood, Washington.
Okay, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you so much for having us this evening. I am going to attempt to share my screen, which should allow us to show some slides. Let's see.
It's a little slow.
Yeah.
Good, I had like a
Yeah,
moment.
it does lag.
Great, okay, let's see. Well, while it does that, I'll introduce myself and our team. Again, my name is Ryan Winterberg-Lip, affordable housing developer with Home Forward, developer for the subject site, which has now been renamed York Terrace. This is Taryn Wheeler. Do you want to introduce yourself, Taryn?
Yep.
Say a little bit about your role.
I was Taryn Wheeler at MWA Architect. I'm the Director of Affordable Housing and have been on this project since day one. Years ago when we started off in concept, went through design and construction. So I've been on the project for the duration.
And behind me, we have Leslie Crehan. She is a senior project manager with Home Forward, who has been with us since the very beginning, and Ida Quiros, my colleague, development coordinator on our Home Forward development team. And unfortunately, I'm not looking like I'm able to share the screen. Dakota?
Yeah, I can pull up yours.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. So thank you for having us this evening. Such a lovely night. We wanted to offer some additional context in support of our variance application for our existing monument sign at our Home Forward York Terrace property. We'll go on to the next slide. Dakota, thank you for us. And I appreciate the question about the surrounding zoning because I have circled our York Terrace site here in red. It is 3.5 acres, and as you can see, it's in that lilac color, which is the MU1 downtown mixed use. And if we pull out, we see that our site has a couple interesting features. It is first much larger than many of the fine-grained downtown context that we see in downtown Troutdale with this MU downtown mixed-use zoning. It is additionally on the very edge of the downtown mixed-use zoning. And as a result, because of its large size and its orientation and multiple street frontages, it faces on to a number of different streets and corridors, none of which are really the main street downtown context that we think of Troutdale and the Columbia River Highway. We face on to 257th, which is a 4-lane divided highway, a mixed residential commercial street, north-south, which is second, that actually terminates into a cul-de-sac, and then largely single-family residential on 4th to the south that you can see there in that orange medium-density residential zoning. And as a result, our argument purports that our site does not face directly onto the main street character of Columbia Highway that really would necessitate what the zoning code is speaking to in terms of intent of the regulations to limit monument signage, freestanding signage that would be incompatible with a pedestrian-friendly main street. Our site's unique location and size makes some of those specific criteria that are addressed within the mixed-use zoning, we believe, incompatible with this particular site and warrant some unique consideration. Okay, let's go to the next one. Thank you. And to the excellent question that yes, the sign does exist today. Here it is. Here is an image of it. You can see it's highlighted there in that pink star. It is blue that ties in with the color of our building and is located in front of Building A. That is the building actually closest to us here where we sit today, which is the most public-facing building at York Terrace. It has the property management office, the resident services office, the community room, leasing, and this is where the majority of guests and visitors would interface with the property. So we do think that the identification is important for public safety and for visitors. It does not advertise any commercial activities, businesses, or advertising. And the alternative location that does comply with the zoning code currently, we can actually see sort of a perfect example of what that would be in that photo in the lower left-hand corner is that a wall sign would probably be the sign that most complies with the zoning code currently. But something we wanted to point out is that the face of Building A is actually set back about 17 feet from the sidewalk, so that would put the sign rather far away from the street for ease of identification. And also our landscaping is rather new in these photos, but it will soon start to mature, and there are a couple trees planted in that gracious landscaping lawn that as they grow will probably reach the second floor windows and may obscure the name of the property and the address if it were to be a wall sign. So we do think that this kind of gracious, softened landscape area that buffers the street and the building speaks to the character of the street and also provides an opportunity to identify the property in a way that is consistent with the context. We'll go to the next slide and I'll turn it over to Taryn.
All right, I'm going to speak a little bit more to the site and its circulation. Again, the uniqueness of the site because of its size. We are over 3.5 acres and we have packed a good amount of program in there. We have 3 buildings of over 85 families. There are 4 parking spaces or parking lots, one that is public, several landscape areas, and 3 points of access. And those 3 points of access make the wayfinding extra important. Would definitely, if we were able to have the sign there, would prevent folks from wandering and getting lost in the neighborhood, and extra circulation that would likely not be needed if they can see right where they're going and enter at the one of 3 sites. Again, unlike downtown, this project is not presenting as a single mixed-use building with a single clear entry on the face, similar to downtown. So unique to that point. Monument signs are allowable for multifamily districts, just showing that that is the appropriate sign type for this type of project. We recognize that zoning standards can't cover every single scenario, and so to us, we would argue that this site is unique enough that it would lend itself to some flexibility. And again, looking at neighborhood context and the different zonings, we would argue that we are not detracting from the existing and desired neighborhood context. Again, like Ryan was saying, we're right on the edge of the downtown zoning, and we're different enough in that we have a much larger site. We don't have a single mixed-use building, and you start to see as you come towards this area where our site is located, it starts to vary in its lot and project types. So on the south side, we have the more single-family, kind of softer edge. On the east, with the Troutdale food cart, is commercial warehouse, definitely a little bit variation in character. Their monument sign is their signage is a food truck on a pole, so definitely a little bit more character, kind of evolving at the edges. At the bottom right corner, that image shows our north edge, which is starting to show that aesthetic and that more downtown feel where the building is pushing up to the edge of the property line and a little bit more pedestrian faced. And then where we are right now in the lower left-hand corner is the direct neighbor, again, kind of setback building, more vegetation. So a little bit more variety in the lot types when you're at the edge of this district. So again, within the context, the project type, and the difference in our site size, we would argue that some flexibility can be shown for this type of sign.
And we also want to acknowledge in the staff report concern over setting a precedent that monument signage could be, that if this variance were approved, that monument signage could proliferate in a downtown mixed-use context. But I think because of the argument that we've laid out with our large site, multiple street frontages, multiple buildings, and campus-like setting, that a precedent would not be established to install incompatible signage in the more downtown character-facing area of Troutdale. And we are happy to answer any questions that you have about our proposal, and thank you again for allowing us to testify today.
Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Wilcox?
Actually, a question and a comment, I guess. Start with the question. The street-facing wall you're showing over on the middle row right there, referred to the left corner. Looks like is there a drain pipe running down the roof where the two roof peaks come together?
Is it on
Maybe
on that photo? Yes, there is.
Go a
There we
couple
go.
slides back.
Yeah, this photo on the left, yes, there is a downspout coming down where the,
So that would interfere with the sign pretty
Well, good.
wouldn't it?
a wall sign at that height.
My other comment is, in your paperwork, the land use application cover sheet says request to install, so that's not exactly accurate since it's already there. And then your narrative, you use the word proposed monument sign a couple different places too. So that was a little bit off.
Yeah, and I can speak to the process on how the monument sign came to be constructed before a permit was pulled, was that in our site permit package, we had the canopy that covered the mailbox pavilion, the barbecue pavilion, and the trash enclosure, and the monument sign. So we had thought, as the applicant, when we submitted our site package to the building officials, that they permitted all 5 of those amenities. We had the monument signs designed within that package. So when we got all the site amenities approved, we understood that the sign was part of that package, and it didn't come up until later when we were doing CFO, where they said, oh, here's your quick do a sign permit, and we'll get this wrapped in, when we discovered that it wasn't allowable. So that was that process.
That was kind of another question I had. So what you just said kind of speaks to how it fell through the cracks. The sign application fell through the cracks, kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, we thought it was part of the site package permit. We were unaware we needed it.
Since there's lighting attached to the sign, somebody have to sign off on all that. I mean, throughout the whole process, the installation of the sign and the wiring and all that.
Right, electrical, structural.
Didn't somebody have to sign off on all that?
It was, my guess is because it was part of that permitted package when we had it fully designed, that maybe they were referencing the design, it just didn't have the paperwork application for the permit. So if they were signing off, I'm not sure where they were signing off, but all the documentation was there. Maybe they were signing off on that full permit package that we thought we were under.
To add a little bit, we were unaware that we specifically needed to get an additional sign permit. And to your point, we believe there were many eyes on the sign as part of the application package, but just didn't realize that we had to request a separate permit, and it wasn't part of the entire site package review process.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone wishing to speak as a proponent to the application? Anyone wishing to speak as an opponent to the application? Any neutral parties wishing to speak to the application? Okay, at this time, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are closed.
Sorry?
Sure, anybody can start.
Wanted to refer to the actual code that's being referenced. Actually backtrack a little bit. 10035, which is residential, reads in part, this section specifies the allowed signs on all land within residential zoning districts. 10040 reads, the provisions of this section regulate other allowed signs on all land in commercial and industrial zoning districts. 045 reads, the provisions of this section regulate other signs on all land within the CBD and MU3 zoning districts. Okay, the difference between 045 and 040 and 035 is 35 and 40 specifically say allowed signs. 040 doesn't say allowed signs. So 045 is saying listed signs are being regulated, but it's not specifying whether other signs are not allowed. It's not saying monument and freestanding are prohibited.
You're saying that
The other two sections specifically say allowed signs, and 045 doesn't address allowed signs or disallowed signs. just says other signs.
Okay, so in 045, we're talking about wall signs, projection signs, portable signs, and temporary signs. We don't address any other types of signs.
Actually, I have some photos here I can share. We have some freestanding signs and other monument signs within the district. So I don't know how those have been used in the past. But they do exist.
Well, I certainly am not questioning that they exist. But like some of these, actually like the plaid pantry one as an example, would be one that was, I'm guessing approved, but certainly erected before the sign code was modified.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised on that.
So that would be a totally different situation. I can't speak to, I'm not even sure where this one is.
Which one, the,
Blank one.
It's right by the arch.
that's the gallery property.
Okay. Is the gallery property? That was predating the sign code as well. Or this version of the sign code anyhow. Those certainly were before that time. But that said, I don't totally know that I line up with approving a variance sets of precedents. I think that those are done based on the merits of each application at that time. So, you know, I don't, although the code may be a little wonky, I don't see where this certainly says which signs are regulated and how they're regulated. It spells it out well enough in here. You could get from one point to another. Commissioner Glantz, you have a question?
Can we ask staff a question at this point?
Absolutely.
How did a packet that has the sign in it get approved? Is there some kind of standard disclosure on what is approved? Is it explicit? I mean, I appreciate how this got here, and I'm trying to understand if, we played a role in it.
Yeah, totally. So when they came in for their building permit, they had their large overarching permit, as they had mentioned. And when staff reviews building permits, we review it for development criteria that they're supposed to meet. So when I reviewed that permit, I went through the development agreement, made sure they met all the standards laid out. But we don't review signs as part of building permits because they have a separate sign permit. So while it's there, it's not reviewed because we review signs under sign permits. So it was there on the plans, but we reviewed it for building permits. and making sure it's meeting the development criteria and design standards.
And what, is there a way, like a disclosure that says this is approved based on the following information? I mean, if I'm the applicant and I get that approved, is there an obvious way I would know that the sign isn't part of that?
Sometimes, yeah, there's notes put in, like, I could say something along those lines.
Okay. As I said, as a general comment, I don't see that the sign is needed to identify the area. There's no other apartments nearby, so just to be able to give a general locator and say the apartments, I think is sufficient to find, if they're worried about police or fire. I mean, police is across the street, they're going to know where it is. But at the same time, I do appreciate that, there was some confusion and that I don't think there was any ill intent of, hey, we got this all permitted and yes, everything was signed off along the way. And now we realize there's another step to go through. And would it be reasonable to think about leaving it in place but not making it replaceable?
Leaving it in place but not making it replaceable?
Yep, like if something happens to it, somebody crashes into it or something, it doesn't come back, but leaving what's there in place as a condition of a variance. I mean, I see both sides of this, so.
Yeah, that would certainly be a variance. I do see all sides, and I'll save it for a minute here.
Okay. Okay, that was it.
Personally, I think the sign looks nice, professionally done. I will say this, just for me personally, you kind of lost me a little bit when you said that you thought that it was approved. Just because usually signs require a separate permit in most municipalities. And I can understand how it slipped through the cracks, but signs are usually everywhere. They're a thing. Everybody's got a thing for signs. Sorry, they do. It's just kind of a thing. And so I would just think that, because that requires so much of the vision triangle and all the other stuff that goes along with it, and the location, and all of those things are tapped out, and usually that's its own kind of process. So I would just think that would somehow, have risen to the surface before everything got done, especially as it was brought up, the electrical permits and the construction permits to pour the base and all of those things would have come up. That's my feelings on it. I didn't see anything from Gresham Fire that indicated they would have an issue with finding the location. Who would be the one that would have more of an issue with that than Malone County Sheriff's, as far as being able to locate it? I didn't see anything of them saying that they thought it would be a problem.
Yeah, I'm, to be perfectly honest, I'm all over the place on this one. Because one thing I think, one argument that was made by the applicant that I really have a hard time buying is the landscaping one. Because the landscaping is going to grow and develop, and you're going to have to do trimming and guiding and such around the monument sign just as much as you would have to for trees around a wall sign. And I think for distance visibility and recognizing the property, my thought is that a larger wall sign would be more effective. As you said, Chair, it is a very nice looking sign. It is very professionally done. For most complexes of this type that are zoned high-density residential, that would be an appropriate application, but that's when the development agreement for this whole effort was put together with all of that effort that went into it. I just think there should have been more effort at the time, or more attention at the time put to dotting all of the i's and crossing all of the t's very specifically about the zoning of that specific location. And it clearly wasn't. So as rambling as that was, that's sort of where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't see this as being injurious to the applicant if they don't have it. I don't think identifying the development is an issue, but at the same time, I also don't see it being injurious to the CBD, given, the low profile and, pretty subtle nature of it. And that it is off, the main street.
Right, but the criteria would be meeting that it's a hardship for the applicant.
And it's not a hardship.
Starting to raise your hand. Mr. Wilcox.
Yeah, I was gonna say, my reading of the findings of fact, that term has always bothered me, by the way. It's opinion and interpretation, it's nothing to do with facts. But I actually found that applicants' findings were compelling than staff's findings. I didn't agree with any of staff's findings.
So you disagree with the findings as written? You disagree with all the findings as written?
Yep.
Why?
Pardon me?
I mean, why do you find them to not be findings of fact?
I don't need to go through all 3 or 4 of them, but there's one in there about how it affects the surrounding area. The sign sits across from a parking lot. Where's the harm there?
Yeah. I guess one that I come back to a little bit is 6.1310A. No variance should be granted which will permit use not permitted in the applicable zoning district.
I haven't seen it expressly prohibited.
It's not listed as approved, right? I interpret that as, the ones that are listed there are the ones that are being regulated and can be approved or are allowed. Staff, do you read that differently than that?
That's how we interpret the code, is those that are there, what's permitted if it's not listed, therefore it's not permitted.
It's not addressed. I would say, and the other thing in the applicant's narrative, they finished with granting the variance supports life safety, accessibility, and the successful operation of affordable housing community in Troutdale. I'm not sure for me that those two connect well. I don't know that the sign would make the operation less successful or more successful either way.
I mean, a correctly formatted sign for the zone would serve exactly the same purpose, to my mind.
Okay.
I agree with Ms. Commissioner Hester, that wall sign is more, if they're in it, you have to go with what the zoning, even if they're on the edge of that, people do walk through there. We have development close by that has walking. I don't think the sign's gonna make or break it. Whatever sign we would choose to go with, so. But the criteria is the criteria.
And I also ponder that a wall sign, it's more obvious. So I suppose if that they're really concerned about is safety and identity, that's, a better way to go. But at the same time, because there's a lot of foot traffic in that area, having the more, the lower sign like they have now, which is understated, is more appropriate for the area. Like if I saw a big, on the side of a building, B in the address and something like that, I would find that more obtrusive, I guess, visually, than something on the ground and lower and relatively small. But again, I don't think there's any injury to either side. So I can go either way on this.
All right. Any side willing to make a motion?
We have the approval or disapproval finding of fact page,
I
or
believe
So if you
so.
approve it, you'll be denying it.
Right. Approving the finding of fact would be a denial, and voting against the finding of fact would be approving it. But I would caution if someone's making a motion denying the finding of fact as written, I think this would need to be conditioned at a minimum, if it was.
Can I
Ms. Palmer.
Can I state something? Our sign code. There's a lot of interpretation in our sign code. And different sections are not consistent with other sections in the sign code. And I do want to bring you back to section 10035, which Commissioner Wilcox stated at the very beginning of his comments on this application. And this is when it gets a little convoluted, but planning commission, you can make a interpretation here. It says signage in residential zones, so that's the title of that section. We know that this lot over here isn't a residential zone, but if you read that the text underneath that title, it says, in addition to exempt signs regulated by section 10.025, this section specifies the allowed signs on all land within residential zoning districts as outlined in chapter 3 of this code, and on any site within the town center overlay district and commercial zoning districts as outlined in chapter 3 of this code, where the use of the land is characterized as residential.
Yes.
So that's the, the use doesn't really go with the zoning of, this is, let me back up there. So this is really talking about signage in residential zones, but then it gets into the town center overlay, where it says where the use is residential. Freestanding signs are allowed.
Right.
Things are hidden in this sign code chapter. And like I said, sometimes they just don't align correctly. So, we could go back and we could make findings based on 10035, but I'm gonna let that decision be on the planning commission, because it's all about your interpretation.
Excellent point. I appreciate that.
I don't totally see
What was that?
That's an excellent point. I appreciate that.
but I don't totally see that connection to this.
I do. It's basically saying that the signage is meant to tie to the usage rather than the zone in that section.
Right, and
Right.
specifically to the town center overlay is the
Correct.
highlights that I heard out of that.
So I wouldn't specifically read that and say, okay, this sign is going to fit within this zone.
So there's conflicting messaging going on in our sign code chapter. I think Paul agrees, Commissioner Wilcox agrees with that statement.
We need to make a future agenda item to clean that up.
I don't deny that any code is interesting to read, especially sign code anywhere. And it can be challenging. But, often there's a decoder ring that comes with it. There's certain things, you can get through it one way or another, but I'm having trouble connecting it here. Sorry to say that, that's just me.
So would our first step then to either move to approve the finding of facts, or can we also move to not approve the finding of facts?
Right, so if you approve the finding of facts, you're denying the conditional use application. Variance application.
Yes equals no.
Right. Yes equals no. And no equals yes. It's like at home. All right.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion on file number LU 0003-2026 Home Forward Monument Sign that we do not approve the finding of facts.
Second that motion.
Do not approve.
Correct.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to deny the finding of fact and final order case file LU-0003-2026. Any discussion on the motion?
Confused.
So we're clear. A yes means we are agreeing to deny.
Clear the way you expressed it, and then Sandy's saying the opposite. That's what I'm hearing.
She said she's denying the finding of facts. Correct.
Correct.
You're saying you do not agree with the recommendation for denial.
Correct.
So on one hand, an approval is a denial.
Yes.
It's totally confusing me.
Yeah, the approval is your
I know.
approving the denial. Okay.
So a yes vote means denial of the findings of fact, which leaves the monument in place.
Yes, it would. So Palmer?
I want to could I make a suggestion?
I'm still not clear on what I'm, which way.
I think I'm gonna get to your answer here, Mr. Wilcox. My suggestion to the commission tonight would be to go ahead and direct staff to go back and update the findings in our staff report. And we can come back with the new staff report and new findings that would approve the sign based on the criteria in 10.035 and from other comments that we've heard this evening.
Continuation.
In fairness, I'm not sure that the support of the planning commission is there to do that, which is why I just tossed something out to see, hold my finger up to see which way the wind's blowing. If we vote on this, can we stop at that point and then go back?
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna have to make findings.
Commissioner Glance's motion is saying that the staff got it wrong, and then we can basically say we want to continue and get a new staff report with different findings.
I think,
Based on how we vote.
I believe we would have to continue it
Yeah.
Okay.
prior to voting on your
Yeah.
motion.
Okay.
You would need to pull your motion.
Okay. So
Vote
is
on the
there,
motion.
Yes.
Okay, and the motion fails, that's a denial.
Right.
Everyone with me on that?
say if the motion fails, that means that the findings of fact stay and the monument goes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can vote on the motion if you want. But I don't know that that's what the people making the motion want for an outcome.
I mean, I hate to send staff back to do something that's going to fail. So,
Well, you don't know how the next vote's gonna go.
right.
This gives staff and the applicant an opportunity to do something, and hopefully it gives us an opportunity to have more membership here for the next vote.
Okay.
It's really difficult with 5.
Okay.
Need a motion for continuance?
No, we would set this for just a second. And if staff's in concurrence, we would set this for May 13th. Is that acceptable to staff and the applicant? Okay. So at this time, we will continue the hearing on case file LU 0003-2026, Home Forward Monument Sign. This will be continued to date certain of May 13th, 2026. Well, I think this is, I just think this is better for the applicant.
Well,
All right. Next up is case file LU-0004-2026, conditional use permit for Dakota Coffee.
Alrighty. Alrighty. Yep, presenting the staff report and presentation for case file LU-0004-2026. Dakota Coffee. The site background, applicant is Jeff Reinvolt with Dakota Coffee. It's located within the town center. The address is 103 West Historic Columbia River Highway. It's located within the MU1 downtown mixed use zone. All to the north is general commercial. East, south, and west is all MU1 mixed use, downtown mixed use. A little bit of site history. The site was developed as part of the town center subdivision plat, which was recorded in 1996. Originally, the site was Lot 2, but through an approved property line adjustment, Lot 2 was combined with Lots 1 and 3. That approval was under 97-010. This site, which is now Lot 3, was developed with the approved site plan or site development review in case file 97-013 for a floor covering showroom, which was permitted within the central business district at the time. The building was divided into 4 separate units, with 2 units above off of West Historic Columbia River Highway and 2 units below. Since then, the building has had several commercial tenants occupy its units. Artistry was the last commercial tenant to occupy the proposed space at 103 West Historic Columbia River Highway. Here's street view of the location. This is the submitted existing floor plan. So with facing West Historic Columbia River Highway is off to the right-hand side with large open space and then room in the back. What's being requested is a conditional use for a coffee roasting facility and coffee shop located within an existing vacant tenant space in the downtown mixed-use zone. What is not being requested is any sort of zone change or any exterior modifications. Applicable criteria for this application are Chapter 1, Chapter 2 of the Development Code, Section 3.211, Downtown Mixed Use, Section 4.600 for the Town Center Overlay, Section 6.300 of Conditional Use, Chapter 9, Off-Street Parking and Loading, Chapter 17, General Provisions, and Appendix A, Design Standards for Central Business District. Along with the appropriate building and fire codes, comprehensive land use plan, construction standards for public works facilities, and relevant standards in the ORS and OAR. This is a type 3 quasi-judicial hearing. Planning Commission is the decision-making entity. The timeline for this application is as follows. On February 18th, 2026, the applicant submitted the application materials. On March 11th, 2026, the application was deemed complete. On March 18th, a notice of public hearing was sent out and posted. And then on April 19th, 2026 is the public hearing. If approved, the applicant's business license can be approved and move into the space with any relevant building permits. The applicant currently has a concurrent review in, so they're currently working on their building permits concurrently with this application. Notification and entities that were notified: Troutdale Planning, Public Works, Building, Gresham Fire and Emergency Services, Multnomah County Right-of-Way, Mid-County Lighting District. We did not receive any public comments. All entities that responded suggested approval can be issued with conditions of approval. Decision criteria under 6.320 conditional use. A, the use is listed as conditional use in the underlying zoning district or approved by the Planning Commission as similar to conditional uses listed in the underlying zoning district. Staff find the subject property is located in the downtown mixed use MU1 zone. All permitted light industrial uses are listed as conditional uses within the MU1 zone. That is per section 3.220. Food and beverage products, specifically beverage processing involving brewing, distilling, roasting, or fermentation, is a permitted use outright within the light industrial zone, and therefore a conditional use within the MU1 zone. That's per section 3.420 of the Troutdale Development Code. Similar use was approved by Planning Commission under case file LU-036-19 for Good Coffee. for a roastery within the MU1 zoning district. As such, this criteria is met. Development criteria B, the characteristics of the site are suitable for the proposed use considering size, shape, location, topography, and natural features. Finding the characteristics of the site are suitable for the proposed use of a coffee shop and roasting facility. The building is located in downtown mixed-use zone, allowing the applicant to locate their proposed coffee shop and roasting facility in one building that would provide visibility to potential customers. The 789 square foot space will adequately accommodate a coffee roastery of its size, with roasting operations occurring in the rear of the building and a retail coffee shop located in the front. The site is located within Troutdale's development corridor, or downtown corridor, and adjacent to existing commercial establishments. The applicant currently has building permits under review for all proposed improvements to the interior of the existing commercial space. There is no concerns with the topography or natural features of the site. Therefore, the use of the site is suitable for a coffee roastery of its size. As such, the criteria is met. Criteria C, all transportation systems, public facilities, and public services related to the proposed development have or can be improved to have adequate capacity to serve the proposed development at the time of completion. All transportation systems, public facilities, and public services currently exist on site and have adequate capacity to serve the proposed roastery and coffee shop. The site is served by TriMet bus routes 77 and 81, which have two stops west of the subject property along Northwest Graham Road and West Historic Lumber River Highway. The site is accessed via West Historic Lumber River Highway, which is a collector. West Historic Lumber River Highway is maintained by Multnomah County. The applicant received a traffic impact memo from Multnomah County Transportation and provided it as part of their submittal packet. See attached to the packet. Per the submitted traffic impact memo, the proposed business will not generate a transportation impact on the county road. Therefore, no further action is required, indicating no concerns or additional conditions. No new access points or utility modifications are proposed with this application. As such, the criteria is met. Criteria D. The proposed use will provide adequate open space, landscaping, and aesthetic design to mitigate any possible adverse effect on surrounding properties and uses. The property is already developed and meets both parking and landscaping requirements. Per Troutdale Development Code 9.005, no off-street parking is required for developments within the town center overlay. All elements of the open space and aesthetic design already exist and are not intended to create any adverse effects. As such, this criteria is met. Criteria E, the proposed use, as conditioned, will not cause or not result in the creation of a public nuisance, including but not limited to air, land, or water degradation, noise, glare, heat, vibration, or other impacts that may be injurious to the public health, safety, and welfare. The proposed use will not cause or result in the creation of a public nuisance that may be injurious to the public health, safety, and welfare. The proposed use is a specialty roaster, roasting in small batches rather than large quantities. The traffic impact memo submitted by the applicant states that the applicant is the primary distributor and will deliver bean bags every 3 months. Per the applicant's narrative, measures are in place to ensure operations will not cause an impact on the surrounding area. There is a possibility for coffee odor to arise from roasting operations. However, odor is not injurious to the public health, safety, and welfare. The applicant is not required to obtain a State of Oregon Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, general air contaminant discharge permit, as the applicant will not be roasting 30 or more tons of coffee per year. As such, this criteria is met. Finding F, or criteria F, the proposal satisfies the applicable provisions of this code. Staff have reviewed the applicant's narrative and intent and believes the applicant has satisfied the review criteria within the Troutdale Development Code, assuming satisfaction of any conditions of approval tied to this application. As such, this criteria is met. Staff recommendation is for approval with conditions as outlined in the findings of fact. I'm not going to read through these all the way through. These are the conditions that are listed in both the staff report and the findings at the end of the findings of fact. The only ones we received were for public works and then planning staff. All testimony.
Any questions for staff before we hear from the applicant?
I do.
Real quick, Chair, as I was reading the finding, or the conditions, those were all pretty much our standard boilerplate ones. I didn't see any real glaring differences there.
Correct. And as mentioned before, the applicant currently has their building permits in. So as they're going through that process with Public Works and building, anything that comes up, they're already working with those entities to resolve. So the conditions are pretty much boilerplate conditions.
Commissioner Glantz?
Didn't Good Coffee used to have a location in the Central Business District? I feel like we've done this before.
They
Where there was a
currently still
roaster.
have their location in the in the downtown.
Okay, so this is a second location.
This is for Dakota Coffee. And
Oh, I thought I saw
Coffee is the
Good
other.
Coffee listed in the conditions of. Or findings of
Good
fact.
Coffee was listed as a roastery that was permitted previously under a separate case file.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I got a comment, I'll save it. All right, at this time, we'd like to ask the applicant to come forward, please.
I will say we're having a hard time hearing you all.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Too many years in a boiler room and too many rock concerts, so speak up, that'd be great.
Did you have fun at the rock concerts?
Absolutely.
That's the important thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, have you read through the conditions and those things?
I do not believe I have at this particular time.
Okay. The appropriate.
I'm sure they're probably things I've been working on, yeah.
Just to make sure that you agree with those and you understand what we're asking.
2 years.
While he's doing that, is this, what was Ally's Dog Wash? Is it that space?
Yes.
It's not Troutini, right?
It's not Troutini, it was Ally's dog
Okay.
at one point in time.
Immediately to the
It was artistry.
It was Artistry was the last business.
This is,
And then prior to that, it was Ally's Dog Wash, and then prior to that, it was another commercial business, and the first business that went in was carpet.
Carpet,
right,
showroom.
I'm going back in time.
Yeah.
Because the guy that bought the building that had Ally's and Troutini.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I've now read the conditions and I'm aware of them, yes.
Okay with that? Okay. Do you have anything that you want to add?
No, I'm just looking forward to the opportunity to get started down here, really. I mean,
All right.
that's about it. I mean, we've been working, like I said, with, our plans reviewed and working with everybody to get the build out ready to go as soon as we get this approval for the conditional use, so.
Questions for the applicant? Okay, good. All right. Thank you.
I just have a question.
Name and address for the record.
Oh, sorry. Yes, your name and address,
Oh,
please.
yes, name is Jeff Reinbold. It's spelled R-H-I-N-E, V as in Victor, A-U-L-T. I reside at 2096 Southeast Meadow Court, Gresham, Oregon.
Thank you. Thanks. All right. Anyone wishing to speak as a proponent to the application? Anyone wishing to speak as an opponent to the application? Any neutral parties wishing to speak to the application? Okay, and this time I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. Okay, I have a couple of quick comments before we get going, just because I'm thinking of them. Roasting coffee does smell. Not can smell, does smell. I don't think it's injurious, but I think when we say it can smell, I think that's, it does have a odor to it.
I think it also depends on the level of roasting. But yeah, I'm not arguing with that.
Yeah.
That's why I put in can, because, white coffee it's not roasted, or green coffee, it's not roasted. So therefore no, so it can have an odor with roasting coffee, so.
And just Gresham Fire, they actually charge to people to do this.
I think most of what's on there is pretty almost boilerplate as well. That's why they didn't suggest any conditions. Those are just that's what they require for most all commercial businesses.
Right, flow report and a hydrant location and some of these things, it's just like, really? I just want to say that, I think it's just sad that we don't put more effort into something like this. Especially when we're charging for the service. Now that I've had my little rant. Any comments on the conditions? Anyone?
Pretty straightforward.
Yes.
Well, I was sort of amused by the DEQ cutoff at 30 tons.
Yeah, 30 tons.
That's a lot of coffee.
It is a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tanny. I mean, as a avowed non-coffee drinker, I can definitely say that coffee roasting and brewing does smell. But I try not to hold that against people, because I wouldn't be married if I had.
Yeah, I used to say years ago I made a big business decision that didn't work out so well. Green coffee beans. Thought that there's roasted coffee and then there's coffee being roasted, and it's not exactly the same thing. So we'll just leave it there. Okay, I don't, any issues with the conditions? All right. Commissioner Wilcox.
This one's pretty easy. The only thing I had is there was some initial confusion about their actual address. Some early postings I saw was 101. It was in the Troutdale location. I went downtown and found it was in the artistry location. And then, well, transportation is using 101 East Historic Highway, which I don't think even exists. So
It does not exist?
I just wanted to point that out.
101 does not exist.
I know where they're going at.
Not west. This is for the 103 west, so. But I know the report is for the proper location.
Yeah, because I know at one time the building was used by one tenant. And so they defunct almost out the address of the other building, and then it came back because it got split again, and you know.
I know that the tax lot is 101 West. This is 103.
There's quite a long history, as Dan had mentioned, about when one tenant took it over, they were removing one of the addresses, and then it came back. There's, I believe the applicant actually came in and spoke with us prior to submitting and spoke with our building team, and they pulled out a memo that was written from the previous building team with Gresham regarding the addressing, because it has been kind of a confusing thing. So that memo still holds up today, but it has had some confusion back and forth.
Okay, any other comments? Okay. Entertain a motion, I would say, at this time.
Chair Staff,
Commissioner Kester.
I will move for file number LU0004-2026, Dakota Coffee, approval of the finance.
Okay.
Second.
All right. So you're approving finding of fact and final order. We'll need a separate one for conditions. Okay, so we'll do conditions after this. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Kester, second by Commissioner Glantz to approve case file LU-0004-2026, Dakota Coffee Type 3 Conditional Use Permit, finding of fact and final order. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Oh, sorry, I was writing down that motion in second. Commissioner Glantz,
Yes.
Commissioner Kester,
Yes.
Commissioner Prickett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Yes.
Chair Stephenson.
Yes. Okay, that one goes. Okay, next one would be conditions of approval for the same case file.
Chair Stephenson,
Commissioner Prickett.
I move that we accept the proposed conditions of approval as written on case file LU-004-2026 Dakota Coffee.
Okay. Second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Oh,
Beat you again.
yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve conditions of approval as written for case file LU-0004-2026 Dakota Coffee. Any discussion on the motion? All those are, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Glantz,
Yes.
Commissioner Kester,
Yes.
Commissioner Prickett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Yes.
Chair Stephenson.
Yes, okay, that passes. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Does Troutdale ever get some sort of existential threat to get kicked out of the Portland Metro if we ever disapproved a coffee?
No, we just like to be maybe at odds with Metro a little bit. That's kind of been our thing for many years. What would you say?
Or maybe just get kicked out of Oregon if we get.
I don't think we get kicked out of Oregon.
They want our taxes too much.
We're not the coffee leader in Oregon either, per capita. That's what's interesting. One of the states with the most coffees consumed in the country, which this is really surprising to me, is Alaska.
Well, yeah, it's cold
Doesn't surprise me
there.
at all, right?
I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
I lived in Finland.
A, it's cold, B,
It's
it's
cold,
dark.
it's dark.
You
You
need.
drink coffee all the time.
Usually they're consuming something that's got a little more antifreeze in it.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, and if you live near Hershey, Pennsylvania, nothing smells worse than chocolate.
Roasted chocolate, yeah. And pretty much any processing thing in excess, will get.
You can get used to it after a while. I mean, I grew up in South Dakota where you start drinking coffee fairly young because that's,
When you're 4.
yeah, because it's cold. You have to have something warm.
I just remember that my father was outwardly was horrified when I told him that I was a senior in college and was not a coffee drinker, like, at all.
It's tough when you disappoint your family, but it happens. All right. Badra, okay, you going first?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I suppose you guys are probably wondering, who is this person sitting here? But, well, I've lived here for off and on for a couple of years now. I live part-time in Hawaii and part-time here, and my name is Elizabeth Amaral. And my husband and I bought one of the townhomes across from Edgefield, which is fabulous, love it. And I think Troutdale is wonderful. I just absolutely love it. And we live on the Big Island in Hawaii, and I gotta say, and we go to a lot of, or I do, my husband doesn't go, but I go to a lot of meetings for our community, the Hawaiian Paradise Park, and I gotta say, at least you guys are very civil and very nice. Our meetings turn into a raging, almost food fight. It's embarrassing, but so.
You can have those too.
We do it civilly. Yeah, you do, so yay, bravo to you guys, but, only thing I would suggest is my husband and I have always said, we'd love to see more of a breakfast spot here. I don't think we're gonna get that in that tiny little coffee location, but I love coffee, and there can't be too many of them, that's fine with me, but that's the only thing I've noticed in town, is we'd love a more.
Like a place where you could eat like a
For
bagel
sure.
and
Yeah, well, even not a bagel, even more
like eggs and bacon.
substantial
Yeah.
than that, a regular full breakfast. And yeah, the candy shop is great in the general store, but we were kind of hoping that would turn into a full-fledged restaurant, but in the old general store, but it didn't, so that's okay. But the candy shop is cute. It's nice.
Comes how it comes.
Yeah, it's like, you can't just, yeah.
Put a sign out saying, we want a
Make it-
breakfast
Yeah,
or a restaurant here.
yeah, so,
You could.
All right.
but, yeah, so I just wanted to say hi, but yeah, it's fun, and yeah, we love it here, so it's great.
Thank you for attending.
Thanks for coming.
And the new park is absolutely wonderful, bravo, that's great.
Thank
Been there
you.
3 times, okay.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Back to live action.
I'm with her. I want an East Coast diner, East Coast style diner somewhere in this city.
Yeah, where they have bar stools and tables.
Well, got nothing for you there.
Yeah, I know. It's never gonna happen, but
No.
I spend enough time living in New England that I miss that a lot. Anyway,
That's where all the gossip is at the diner.
You were him.
Oh, I can go first.
Okay.
Thank you, George Stephenson. Back to our sign code this evening. I want to make the Planning Commission aware of an issue that came up that staff has reviewed, and I want to get feedback actually from the commission tonight regarding this concern. So we had a code compliance issue with flag or feather signs. I think we all know what those types of signs look like. So staff, we went into our code and kind of like researched how do we regulate these flag signs that are proliferating, I think, within the Troutdale community. We're seeing more and more of them. We went to 10.030 prohibited signs. And H says any signs that move, rotates, revolves, flaps, flutters, or simulates animation, except for flags in accordance with this chapter. So then you flip back to what a definition of a flag is in the definition section. And the definition reads, flags: any fabric containing colors, patterns, words, or symbols, typically oblong or square, attachable, by one edge to a pole are anchored at only two corners. And then the last sentence states, if any dimension is more than 2 times as long as any other dimension, it is classified and regulated as a banner, regardless of how it is anchored or supported. So staff, our interpretation, and this is when we have to make an interpretation here. And staff, our interpretation for these flag signs is that we're treating them as a temporary banner sign based on that second sentence. So we have gone out and we've talked to, all the business owners, and, we made a nice little sign brochure that talks about temporary, portable, and banner signs and how we regulate those signs here in Troutdale. So that's how we are currently treating these feather signs. We're treating them like a temporary banner. And so what that means is that businesses have to come in. They apply for a temporary banner permit. That banner permit is good for 30 calendar days. However, they can ask for approval up to 90 days per calendar year in our code. They can't have those feather flag signs out more than 90 days, and you're only allowed one sign per street frontage, and that sign cannot be in the right of way. So that's how how staff were currently treating those feather signs. As we were kind of doing some investigations about how we have treated signs here in Troutdale in the past, the Planning Commission in 2021, during a Planning Commission meeting, stated that these flag and feather signs should be prohibited outright. And that was, with a different staff. But I want to seek some direction from the commission tonight in regards to these flags and feather signs and the sign code. Would you like staff to work on some amendments to our sign code for clarity?
I will also say, in the meeting in 2021, when the discussion of the amendments to the sign code were proposed, Planning Commission at the time decided not to have a definition for feather flags, felt that it was well enough represented with the definition for flags. And the flag is different different enough than a feather flag. However, clearly, as Erica had just gone over, it's still a very big interpretation. So I think that's also the other thing is, while someone can have it up for 90 days, it cannot be 90 days consecutive. 30 days, they have to take it down for at least 2 weeks, and then it can come back, and then they can submit for another renewal of their permit for an additional 30 days. But again, you can't do more than 3 permits total in a calendar year equaling 90 days. So it just can't be consecutive for 90 days. But yeah, so that's, at the time in 2021, it was decided that, that should be okay. But I think we're seeing now that there's still a lot of interpretation to be had.
Speaking for some of us that were here in 2021,
Yeah.
I guess, I don't believe the sign code, I believe it's probably needs some clarity. Some of the ambiguity to it was done intentionally. I don't think the sign code's written in a foreign language. Sorry, that's just my opinion. You think it is? I don't believe it's written in a foreign language.
I think there's parts of it that are confusing, that are in
Parts of it that are
conflict with
looping.
one another.
That kind of loop.
And some of this, frankly, was because of the Gilbert case. And I remember we had to go back and forth on flags because of the definition of the American flag. We actually had something written where you could not hang an American flag outside of your business. So some of this evolved from some of those discussions and decisions that were made, you remember that, at that time. But with that said, I can tell you the issue with feather signs primarily was along historic Columbia River Highway. Because they were appearing in planter boxes and things out near the street. And there was accidents and there was issues, people couldn't see.
Sightlines.
Right. Sight lines. And it didn't necessarily need to, but it certainly didn't meet the vision triangle with any stretch of the imagination, as much as that goes. I do personally think it could need to be cleaned up a little bit, but I also don't think that, having them listed as a temporary banner, I think probably suits it, because staff has to approve it, which I think is the important thing.
And it limits it to one
Right.
per street frontage.
Right.
And I think, sometimes when people buy these things, just my opinion, sometimes if they buy one, they get two free or whatever it is, wherever they're buying them, because they seem to just be like everywhere in front of a business instead of just like one, so.
And does that include apartments?
It's anywhere within the city.
Anywhere within the city.
So-
That's the problem I have with making it a temporary, because the apartments use them for, a sign that says now renting. Well, they're renting year round. Not,
And they don't take them down, they leave them up.
yeah.
That would, you've got two ways to look at this. You either outlaw them completely or you make it an enforcement issue.
Yeah,
Right, and you do a lot of education.
right.
But I'll also say that anywhere practically in the state, and I can't say I can speak for Portland at all, but other cities, other municipalities, other areas, the regulation on the 30-day rule and some of those things is subjective at best.
And I would agree to that in the sense that how our sign code is written with temporary is it's able to be up for 30 days and then they have 14 days past the end 30 day to remove the sign. So depending on how you would, if I were a business owner and I had one up there, to me, that means I have 45 days to remove it or 44 days to remove it. But that's how it's currently written. They have up to 14 days. I think that's more, the intent of that is more for, if there's a banner it's difficult to get to, or you have it up for an event, and it's like the event's over, I have to go back there and make sure to take that down, where it's not, hey, it has to come down that day. So it's allowing a little bit of leeway, and then it's just a matter of really enforcement.
I'll just say, due to the business climate post 2020, it's been somewhat lenient just because of the business climate. So I understand that piece too.
What would the downside be to just not allowing them? I can see from a wind standpoint in Troutdale that wouldn't be unreasonable.
I can't imagine why anybody in Troutdale would actually buy the silly things, because they're basically asking for them to be snapped in half.
Honestly, Sandy, I think that's a value question for the commission to kind of walk through. When you talk about aesthetics in the community, there's other communities in Oregon that prohibit these kind of signs completely. And those communities, value non-cluttering, streets that aren't cluttered, better aesthetics, and the kind of a whole list of other community values when they prohibit these kind of signs. But it has been done in other communities where they have prohibited these feather flag teardrop signs. They go by lots of different names.
Right. And I don't disagree. I would just say, I also look at this from a vacancy standpoint and, realize that the more restrictive we are, the more restrictive we are. Meaning, for a lot of people, signage is practically life or death, making it or not, literally. And so I'm always, somewhat compassionate to that, or try to be.
When I went around with our code enforcement officer to speak with businesses and for education purposes, what I was recommending most businesses, if they can, especially maybe in our downtown, is to look into our sandwich board sign criteria, because those, you just need one permit. The only requirement is they cannot be outside of business hours. You have to bring them in at the end of business. But that's a good alternative. It's a cheap permit. It's a good alternative. You can put it out there as long as it's not in the public right away. Then you can have it out there to advertise your business. If you needed additional signage, that's something that I informed most of the businesses where it would work for them.
No, and I would just say I appreciate that, but if we're worried about wind being an issue, the sandwich board is going to go airborne long before a feather sign would.
Possibly could,
They
yeah.
usually weight them down with a sandbag underneath.
Or a gallon jug.
Yeah, you'd need like a
10 pounds of concrete.
concrete ultra block for these things. Hanging off of it.
Do we want to look at something that, since our folks up above in Salem seems to be so focused on residential and density of residential, do we want to be a little nuanced on how we handle it, not necessarily slap the larger high-density complexes that Mr. Wilcox was saying, I use these nearly constantly for now leasing. Basically keep them out of or be a little more restrictive in the commercial zones, commercial and mixed use zones, and be a little more relaxed in HDR.
But HDR, a lot of those end up being commercial as well.
Well, my question is, what's the difference between residential and commercial? If you're in an apartment complex, to me, that's a business. It's not a resident, people rent them out, but it is a business.
Yeah.
Because they're in the business of renting them out.
Yeah.
So that's where my weirdness comes in, is because it does do two things at the same time, so. They should be, I don't agree with feather sign. They can be temporary, we shouldn't be lax about it.
So
Because
what,
they're usually not more than one, there's usually 5 or 6.
so what I'm hearing from the commission tonight is to go ahead and we're gonna keep regulating them as a temporary banner sign for now. Staff, it seems like we've gotten the direction from the planning commission to go back into our sign code and to take a look at it and propose some amendments on some certain sections to help clarify, which I think we can do within the next couple of months. And then we can come back and we can have a full conversation about what our options are for, flag signs and some of the other issues that we have noted in our sign code. Great. Glad we have a path forward. Our next commission meeting is May 13th. We have 2 hearings on that night. We have
The code amendment for the Halsey Gateway overlay. And then the continuance that was tonight for the sign variance for York Terrace or Home Forward.
and a couple other things that are happening in the community this month. Memorial Day weekend, the pilot shuttle for the Sandy River is starting. So we're going to be having a recreational shuttle to shuttle folks that want to float the river from the outlet mall up to Dabney, where they can rent a float and get a life vest. And that's going to be running Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays up until Labor Day. And then we're going to have a park Sharon Nesbitt community celebration on Saturday, June 20th from 10 to 1 p.m. It's going to be a lot of fun. So put that on your calendar. Do you have anything else?
Those are the main things I have coming. Yeah.
I just thought, since you mentioned they'll be launching at Dabney, do all the people have to pay the walk-in, the use fee?
No, so the shuttle, they don't have to.
You're allowing ample time, I'm guessing, for them to get downriver,
Yes.
because that can be a significant, like, hours and hours and hours to go that far.
Snowfall has been in this winter. How long does it take to walk from Dabney to Glenotto?
If you're not paddling, it takes 3 hours.
And we say, yeah, and we, in our little like brochure that's gonna be coming out, we say it could be 3 or more hours.
Lots of sunscreen.
Lots of sunscreen.
Mhm.
Spillway.
Don't go past Glenelg Park, you'll end up on the Columbia River.
Water shoes.
Shoes are very important.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Glant, you're up first.
I just want to say thank you, Tanny, for all the work you do on planning and the amazing job you did on budget.
Oh, thanks. I don't know about that, but thank you.
It's a tough job, it really is, and that we got through it. It's like
Got its issues sometimes.
nobody killed anybody. It was, polite and proper for the most part. So
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kester?
The shoes thing on the Sandy sort of sparked a thing in my head. Has there ever been either through DEQ or through the city or the county like a river cleanup effort on that stretch of the Sandy, like pulling out trash and old tires and that kind of stuff? Sort of
On the river?
organized river, yeah, on the river itself.
I don't know about an organized one.
Doesn't Solve do that?
Right,
Solve comes through, but that would be the closest. Is that what you mean when you say organized one?
Kind of, because like the analog thing that I have in my head is an effort that going back to my Midwest roots. There's a program through the Iowa Department of Natural Resources called AWARE, where they pick a river every year, stretch a river, and they get like 150 people together and they float down that section of river and pull out all the trash and machinery and stuff that they can find. And I was just sort of curious, and given the amount of traffic that stretch gets, if that's a cleanup thing that's ever been done.
Well, Solve has done it. I was gonna say, and this doesn't count, but most of the property owners are pretty good about taking care of the shrapnel. Usually like when we have a high water event like we did this last year, we end up with some cool stuff or not so cool stuff when the water table goes back down.
No, it's just sort of a curiosity thing. But yeah, other than that, the meeting, glad to see people.
Mr. Wilcox?
Nothing more?
Thank you, Tanny, for your budget. I appreciate it. Thank you, staff, for being patient with us and doing all the due diligence. And that's all I have.
Yeah, I want to thank staff for their work of putting these cases together this evening and cracking into the sign code. Anytime you look at code, it's a challenge. So thank you for doing that, and I want to thank everyone for being here and all the work that they do to make Troutdale a better place. So thank you, and with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, we are adjourned. We will see you 13th of May.